Today's presentation will cover the tools and techniques used in virtual librarianship.
Welcome to the recorded version of Promoting Your Virtual Library. I'm so glad you could join us today as we take a deeper look into what it takes to have a virtual library. If there's anything that the COVID-19 pandemic and the flip to remote learning has taught us, maintaining an online presence is important. A virtual presence is essential even when we are in our physical spaces. We know our students can't always get to us, so maintaining these virtual spaces where they can access the tools and resources of the Media Center is essential, even when we are in our physical spaces. We know that next school year will look very different from the previous school years. And many of us have already begun to create our virtual libraries. We need to take the time to grow the virtual spaces we began creating last year and continue to build and update our virtual spaces to meet the needs of our students and faculty. Throughout this presentation, I will be discussing the various elements that go into the creation of our virtual spaces. Listen with the idea of figuring out which part of virtual librarianship you feel is essential to your practice as a media specialist. Which element will help your students the most? Focus on that element to grow your virtual library offerings before branching out into other parts. Digital book displays function almost the same way as traditional book displays. When we create book displays at our media centers, we use them to draw the students to a set of books we would like them to focus on. These displays are temporary in that as soon as our students come through the library and begin checking the books out, the displays start to dissipate. The book display did its job, it attracted our students to it, and they began to check the books out. As our students check out books, it begins to lose its significance and effectiveness. A book display that doesn't have books doesn't achieve what we set out to make. Virtual book displays are more permanent. Let's juxtapose the traditional book display with the virtual book display. The virtual book display stays constant as students aren't checking out the books from the display. The two versions accomplish the same thing. They introduce our students to the books we would like them to notice. The virtual book display is always visually pleasing in that no one can remove a book from it. It offers more information such as book trailers, audio excerpts, and author information. Consider adding this information to your physical displays through the use of things like QR codes, but consider making both a virtual and a physical book display. This way, all of your students will be able to access the information we would like them to have, even when they are unable to be in our physical spaces due to COVID-19, or simply because time doesn't permit. When you create a book display in your physical space, you spend time crafting it to be eye-catching and appealing. The sole purpose of creating these displays is to draw our students to these books. Put the same effort into creating your virtual book displays. Consider the two displays on the screen right now. Which one do you think would appeal more to your students? Put your personality into these book displays. What works for my students may not work for your students. Always keep your students in mind when creating these displays, either in our physical libraries or our virtual spaces. Ask yourself what your students would prefer when creating these displays, and use that as your North Star to guide you as you build your virtual book displays. It's easy and fun to create digital book displays. I love creating these even more than creating book displays in my physical library. I can easily add my personality to them, and that will come through to my students. I suggest using Google Slides or Google Docs to create them. They can easily be embedded into a Google site, making sure that your links are active. Additionally, you can download them as PDFs and place them in a Google Classroom to easily share them with your students. The key to these displays is to make them visually pleasing and accessible to your students. Include book covers and make them interactive. You can find many fantastic resources to add to your virtual book displays in teaching books. You can find teaching books in your portal. Do share that resource with your teachers as well. If you need additional support on teaching books, please visit our YouTube channel, PBCSD Library Media Services, for a tutorial on teaching books. This is a virtual book display I created for the FY21 Florida Teens Read List. Each book links to either a book trailer, an audio excerpt, or information about the author. The link in the Dog's Thought bubble will take you to the Palm Beach County Library, where your students can check them out in an ebook format. This one book display is a one-stop shop for high school students to access this year's Florida Teens Read books. This book display encourages our students to read the books they are interested in and makes it easy for them to access those books. Now let's move on to your virtual library. Your virtual library site is a digital representation of your physical library. You need to put the same effort into creating your virtual space as you do creating your physical space. Both need to be warm, welcoming, and inclusive. These things don't just happen by accident. When we plan, we can develop the kind of spaces our students need in both our physical and virtual spaces. And when we plan, magic happens. So some things to consider when we are creating our virtual libraries. Make sure it's warm, welcoming, and inclusive space. Let your personality shine through. Put effort into creating the kind of space your students need. Use this virtual space to help your students use the digital resources that are available to them. Consider creating short tutorial videos to help your students access these tools. Let me caution you to please not link to resources that are in the portal. Instead, create a set of directions that help your students find the resources in the portal. Use your virtual space to connect with your students even when you cannot be with them in person. Let your students know how to contact you by email, Twitter, ask a librarian forum, or whatever method you choose. Add some personal features to your virtual space. Kathleen Boutte at Jerry Thomas put pictures of her dogs into her virtual library. Julie Green at Oklahoma Middle took her students on virtual tours of Nashville in her space. Have an organized website. If your virtual site is unorganized, your students won't be able to find the information you would like to share with them. It's no different than your shelves being out of order. Put effort into the way you lay your site out. The more user-friendly the website is, the more your students and teachers will use it. Make sure your site meets the needs of your students. No two virtual library sites will be the same. And make sure to update the site frequently and to check for broken links. Updating your site will keep it fresh and keep your students returning. Checking for broken links will reduce frustration. Do check to make sure that all Google Docs and links are working. When you place a Google Doc onto the site, you need to make sure you've shared it with the correct sharing permissions. If you don't, your students and staff will have to request permission to view them. The best way to share documents is that anyone with a link can view. This ensures that anyone who is looking at your site will see everything that is on your site. There are a few key components, many of which I've mentioned in the previous slide, but that bear repeating. You can use this slide as a checklist to ensure that your site has all the information your students need. There needs to be some way for your students and faculty to connect with you and ask you questions. So consider having an Ask a Librarian section. Have a calendar of upcoming events in your library. The schedule will help your students get involved in library programming. Consider adding your social media feed. If you have library accounts on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, consider embedding the information into your virtual library site. We are media specialists, and one of our primary objectives is sharing literature with our students. Consider adding those virtual book displays to point your students towards new materials in your library in both print and electronic form. Make sure to include information that is critical to your students. You might have a page on your library site dedicated to a collaborative effort with a teacher. It gives your students a central place to access all the information they need. Create your website to be used during virtual learning as well as during in-person learning. These virtual spaces are critical to meeting the needs of our students all the time, not just when we are in our physical libraries. I chose the following exemplar library sites for the information they contain and how they showcase the knowledge their students need. Let's start with the two elementary sites. At first glance, the Indian Pines Elementary site, you see the media specialist personality come through with the way she has arranged the website and the information she chose to feature on our homepage. She has an enjoy the summer message, updates for her students about library books, and a way for her students to contact her. So let's take a closer look at that site. As you can see, the information is organized in a very pleasing manner. Susan Osborne's personality comes through. She has a way for her students to connect with her. She has virtual field trips, reading counts information, database information, and ebook read alouds. Jerry Thomas's site is eye-catching. The use of color and graphics make a visitor want to explore the site. We can see the media specialist and her clerk pictured in their superhero capes. She organizes the information in a way to make it easy for her students to navigate. Let's take a look at the Jerry Thomas Library site now. As you can see, the Jerry Thomas Media Center website is very eye-catching. It's bright, it's cheerful, it has links to all of the things that Kathleen's students will need and want over the summer and during the school year. We're going to go back and down. We're going to take a look at some more sites. The KEC Canal Point site is one of my favorites, and she features two virtual book displays. These displays feature read-alouds that honor the copyright policies of the publishers during the COVID-19 school closures. The read-alouds are only accessible when students sign into their school district accounts, which allows Ms. Bauer, the media specialist, to share read-alouds with her students while honoring the copyright. Let's take a closer look at that site now. As you can see, this site is filled with information for the KEC Canal Point students in an eye-catching way. Students are sure to engage in all of these read-alouds and all of the information that's up on the site. And we can see that the personality of the media specialist shines through, letting the students connect with her even when they can't be together. The next site we're going to take a look at is the Forest Hill High School site. Hannah Budd at Forest Hill High School has a phenomenal page on her site that introduces her students to the Gale research products. She has a how-to video, directions for locating the Gale tile in the portal, and a screenshot of what her students will see when they access Gale. Let's go take a look at her site now. As you can see, she's got a message for her students for over the summer to keep reading, letting them know where their ebook access is available. But let's take a look at her research, the Gale page in particular. This is done in such a way that her students will be able to find the resources that they need and access it through the portal. Two more sites that I want to share with you are the Library in Atlantic, which was created by Rebecca Raddick. She's created a dynamic website. The website points her students to all of the materials they need and describes her library's programming's inclusivity. Let's go live to her site now. You can see all of the information that Ms. Raddick wants you to be able to see, all the information her students need. They can make an anonymous report to No Place for Hate. You can see all of the philosophies of her library. In addition, she has research pages, resume and college apps, and pages for teachers who are doing collaborative projects along with her. The last site I want to feature today is the Eagles Landing site. Alonso Torres has a page on his website that focuses on student book recommendations. Featuring student work is a great way to make your students feel valued. And here's the Eagles Landing website. He has his Gale research tutorials, the book of the week, and student book recommendations. Students will feel a part of the library when you include their work on your virtual site. We're going to shift focus now and talk about Google Classroom. Google Classroom is a powerful tool to use as a part of your virtual library. Google Classroom is where, if we are virtual, you will conduct your live meets for security purposes. If you create your meet in Google Classroom, students can join the meet until you can't join the meet until you open the room and can't rejoin the meet once you've closed the meet. You can use your Google Classroom in conjunction with your Google site. I've linked a short video for you to watch on how these two products work seamlessly together. Google Classrooms are useful for a multitude of purposes. In the Media Center, they are great for sharing information that isn't public, having students turn in work, and receiving feedback from you. And it's also a fabulous way to do research project collaborations with teachers. I've chosen two Google Classrooms to highlight in this training. The first one is Amy Armbruster's IB Middle Years Program Personal Project Classroom. She uses this for students at Suncoast to work on and turn in their middle years project. Amy and her co-teachers put the information the students need to know about the project into the classroom. They use this as a vehicle for collaboration. The other Google Classroom I would like to spotlight is the Independence Middle School Book Club. Lisa Petrosha uses her classroom to manage and host her book club, even during virtual learning. Did you know that your Destiny splash page is customizable? It's easy to do and makes it more attractive and useful for your students. You can use basic HTML coding to change the color and add valuable links. You can create a Symbaloo or a thing link and embed it into your site. Do you have a YouTube video that you or your school has made that you would like to feature on your Destiny splash page? That can be inserted too. If you aren't ready for HTML, you could add custom links. I will be creating a how-to video for customizing your splash page. And remember, on your splash page, don't link to resources in the portal. This will only serve as a frustration to your students. Now let's check out two schools with customized splash pages. Rebecca Raddick, the media specialist at Atlantic High School, uses Weebly for her virtual library, and she's able to embed it directly into Destiny. Embedding the site looks fantastic on the splash page and makes the page even more functional. The Atlantic High School library site, having been done in Weebly, is able to be embedded onto other platforms. If you've created your site in Google Sites, this isn't possible, but never fear, because you can link your students to your virtual library website from Destiny. And there are other things you can do to jazz up your splash page. Jupiter High School has embedded a Symbaloo into their site. You can see from this screenshot that they link to useful resources through the Symbaloo. They've also added custom links. Customizing your Destiny splash page is a great way to make it more functional and get your students to log on to Destiny. A feature you may not know about in Destiny is Destiny Collections. Collections is a powerful curation tool, and it's been around for a few years, and it's a part of Destiny Discover. You can do so much with Destiny Collections. It's a powerful tool for collaboration with students and teachers. In Collections, you can curate resources from within Destiny, including books, and resources outside of Destiny. Collections can be collaborative spaces, so you and a teacher can work together to curate resources for a class. And they would all be housed together in one Destiny collection. You can share a collection via email, directly to a Google Classroom, or with a link. Standards and grade levels can be added to the collection with the click of a button. Students can create collections too. Using this tool is an excellent way for students to collect their research in one place. To get to collections, you're going to click on Catalog and then Destiny Discover. Once you've accessed Destiny Discover, you're going to click on Collections. Now that you've accessed Collections, you're going to click on the Private tab. Once you've landed on the Private tab, click on the plus sign to start a new collection. Once you've finished your collection, you can choose to leave it private or make it public. There are other curation tools that you may wish to use as part of your virtual library. One of my favorite tools is Wakelet. Wakelet is a powerful tool that is simple to use and has a Google extension so that you can quickly save websites to a Wakelet. Once you've created your Wakelet, you can share it in a myriad of ways. It is entirely free, and it has an app as well. A new to me curation tool is Pearl Trees. It's easy to use and offers an interface that is different for both Wakelet and collections. You can share Pearl Trees in many different ways, but it can't be shared directly to a Google Classroom the way a Wakelet or a Destiny collection can. You would have to share it with a link. Pearl Trees offers 2 gigs of storage for free with their educational account, and it too has an app. Take the time to decide what your favorite curation tool is. Is it Destiny Collections? Is it Wakelet? Is it Pearl Trees? Play around with them to figure out which one suits your needs and the needs of your faculty and students. In the follow-up, you'll be asked to choose a topic, and using the curation tool of your choice, find 10 items that support that topic. This is a great way to practice using these tools before we return to school, and you begin using them with teachers and students. Communicating with teachers and students was easy before our schools were closed due to COVID-19. It's more important than ever for us to communicate with our teachers and our students and our administration. So often the work of the media specialist can be invisible. Communicating with your faculty and staff and students lets all of them know that you are still there to support them and offer rich media center programming. This is critical to your program. I encourage you to create an Ask a Librarian Google form and embed it in your virtual library site, your Destiny splash page, and place it in your Google Classrooms. Here are 2 different examples. This one created using Google Forms, and this one is part of the Weebly website. Another great way to collaborate and to communicate with your faculty, staff, and students is to send a newsletter. Send them on a set schedule and use the tool of your choice. It's a great way to communicate what's gone on in your media center, the programming you've done, the successes you've had, and let everyone know what the upcoming events in your media center are. There are several tools that you can use to create your newsletter. The 3 that I recommend highly are Adobe Spark, Canva, or S'more. Adobe Spark and Canva are free. S'more has a nominal charge of $79 a year. Here are 2 examples of newsletters. The first one I'm going to show you was created using Adobe Spark. It is the Trailblazer newsletter. And you can see that Tasha Pert has put a lot of thought and effort into what she's decided to communicate with her Trailblazers. It's beautiful visually, as well as containing a wealth of information. Spark pages require some thought, but the end product is really worth having. The next one I want to share with you is a S'more. It is a much more simple tool and more drag and drop than a Spark page. But keep in mind, there is a $79 a year charge to have a S'more account. So let's take a look at this newsletter year in review. You can see that there were author visits, Google Hangouts and Skypes, hour of code, statistics about the library were shared. Again, this is a great way to remind your faculty, staff, and administration of all the amazing things that go on in your libraries all year long. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, where do I find graphics for my virtual library? I would highly recommend creating them. Adobe Spark is available in your portal. It is a very simple, easy to use tool to create eye-catching graphics. Two other places where you can find free Creative Commons photos are unsplash.com and pixabay.com. All the photos in these sites are in the Creative Commons and they are free to use and share. If you have questions about today's presentation, please email them to me at lisa.seymour@palmbeachschools.org. The follow-up to this presentation can be found in e-learning. If you would like more training on any of the products I talked about during this presentation, please respond to this bit.ly/additional training. It is case sensitive. Take a moment now to pause the video and write that bit.ly down so that you can let us know what products you would like additional training on. For more information on these products and about Library Media Services, please visit our website, librarycurrent.palmbeachschools.org, or you can visit our YouTube channel, PBCSD Library Media Services. I'd like to take a moment to thank you for watching today and being a part of our summer training.
Thank you for joining us for today's presentation on virtual librarianship.
The information contained in this recording was up to date as of June 23, 2020. For more current information, please visit our website, librarycurrent.palmbeachschools.org, or visit our YouTube channel, PBCSD Library Media Services.